and welcome to the Scary Goals Club. I am your host, Hazel Robertson, and I believe that to make the impact that you know you are called to make in the world, it requires setting bigger, scarier goals and then becoming the person who creates them. That is what I am here to show you how to do. That's what we're diving into with mindset, tools, tricks, really simple, practical, actionable steps you can take and start applying straight away. Because whatever you believe, we have this one life that we definitely know about. Start making the impact you know you want to make in the world. Fear is not a reason to stop. We keep going. We work through the fear. That is what we do in the Scary Goals Club. So come on in, come join, hit subscribe, and let's get started. Hi, and welcome to episode 15 of the Scary Goals Club podcast. We're on episode 15. I am halfway towards my scary goal. It is amazing. I can't believe I'm here. I mean, I can because I've been imagining it and like imagining myself here and at 30, but it still feels like such an amazing milestone. So good. And I thought it'd be really fun for this episode to run through 15 things I have learned or relearned, because a lot of these things aren't new, it's just remembering them. 15 things I've learned or relearned by creating 15 episodes of the Scary Goals Club podcast. So that's what we're going to dive into today. So fun. I'm so excited to share these. It was so fun putting this list together as well. I've been out for a few walks over the last few weeks and just I came up with the idea of like, oh, this is great. And then when I would like think of another one, just add it to the list. There's actually 17. So there's a bit more than 15, but I will get on to all that. But firstly, how are you guys doing? Do you have sunshine with you? Because it has been so sunny and lovely here like the last week. It's just been, oh, I've just needed it so much. Sunlight is just so good. It's been so energizing. And I've just been spending so much time outside and also very grateful for trees and shade and woods. Like when it has been hot, I'm still not like that adjusted to heat. It's been so nice just being able to walk in forests and sit under like the shade of the trees. I've been very grateful for that. Yesterday, I went for my first, I know it's like almost June, but I went for my first wild swim of the year. Actually, I can't even think when I last went for a wild swim. Last summer at some point. Yeah, just before we moved to Bankery, actually, to Aberdeenshire. I went in, I think it was Loch Fa. I remember the final swim in like October, literally the Tuesday before we moved house. And it was so good, but it was just getting into winter. And now, like yesterday, the sun was out. It was this awesome spot just up the road with a bunch of other mums and their kids. I had Flynn for the day, and it was just so nice because there was so many of us and other kids as well. It meant Flynn could play in the shallow bit and someone was watching him. And I actually went in for a proper swim, like swimming up the current in the D, swimming upstream, and then like lay on my back, stared at the sky in the cool water, and just like floated back downstream to where my shoes were. It was so good. I needed it so much. So already I'm like, okay, when's the next one? When's the next one? So if you haven't been in a lovely body of water this year, I really recommend it. So good for the soul. And I am drinking at the moment. I want to share this with you. I am drinking mushrooms, not that kind of mushrooms, but powdered mushrooms. It was actually a friend had recommended it, like something that can give you energy, but isn't caffeine, isn't like sugar, doesn't have the crash. So I'd looked into it a bit and hadn't even realized that Luke had bought someone. So I'd mentioned about it. He was like, oh, here's a packet of it here. Let's try it. It's like 7 mushroom blend or whatever. I don't even know what the 7 mushrooms are, but been having it and it smells a bit like hot chocolate. It tastes a little bit earthy, but not like a mushroom. It doesn't totally taste like a mushroom. Anyway, I've got it. I don't even know how much you're supposed to put in. I should probably look at it. Just have it with topped up with hot water as if I'm making an instant coffee. That's how I've been making it. And then I've added oat milk to it. It's actually quite nice. It's almost an acquired taste. It's like if you've ever had green tea or matcha, it's a little bit more earthy, but I'm enjoying it. And yeah, I think it's really working in terms of energy. Like it does feel like it's quite energizing. It feels like it helps me focus and concentrate. Whether or not it actually does, or I'm just imagining it does. But so far it's good. So far I'm enjoying it. So yeah, here's what I'm going to say. Do you drink powdered mushrooms? Is that part of your diet? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, I'm gonna have a sip now. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like weak hot chocolate. That's what it kind of tastes like. Great. It's quite nice. I'm quite enjoying it. Anyway, let's dive into the 15 things. So I'll rattle through them. And oh yeah, I just want to offer if sometimes when we are presented with a list like 15, oh my goodness, don't take all of these and take them on. Like, and you don't need to remember them all either, but just listen out and see what is the one that resonates most with you today? And take that one and then start applying it or thinking about it or think how it applies to you. We often hear what we need to hear in that moment. Like what our brains are primed that they're looking for, we will hear that. And so there'll be something that for today, when you're listening to it, is going to jump out to you that you're going to be like, oh, that is exactly what I needed to hear, or that's so good. I'm going to think about that. Take that one thing, leave the rest. Don't try and take them all and re-listen to it, like save it or come back to it. And I guarantee if you listen to it again in a month, you're going to hear something else that resonates because you're going to be primed and needing to hear something different. So it's the same with any training or anything you do. It's the same even with me coaching my clients. I can kind of teach something and we can talk through it in like over a period of months in different ways and at different times. And sometimes it'll be like, oh, now I get it. Because either I've said it in a certain way or the situation or they've heard it a different way or it's been what they've needed to hear in that moment. And it's like, now I get it. It's just how our brain works. So you don't need to take everything in, re-listen. It's the same with all this podcast. Re-listen. There'll be stuff that jumps out to you at different points in your life and when you need it. So here we go. Number one, these are things that I have learned or relearned from doing 15 episodes of this podcast for my scary goal. Number one is it is so, so important to keep it easy. I have told myself every single time I've put this in my calendar, I've decided I'm going to record an episode, I'm just going to talk for 5 minutes. The first episode I actually did 10 minutes. And after it, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I talked for so long. And it was only 10 minutes when I edited it down. I was like, how am I going to talk for longer? And then, of course, when you relax into it and get into the swing of it, it's so much easier to talk for longer, especially when we're relaxed. We can talk a bit more when it's like, what am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? Which is pretty much what my first episode was like. It's like time almost slows down. It feels like it takes so long. It's like, oh my goodness, I've only been 10 minutes. So I've just told myself, I'm just going to talk for 5 minutes. So thinking about what is that for you? Anything that you're doing, that you're trying, again, working towards your scary goal, just do it for 5 minutes. Like make the barrier to entry, make starting really, really easy. And then once you start, it's so, so much easier to keep going. So that's the first one. Second thing I've relearned is the importance of imperfect action. So throughout this, like even thinking back to 15 episodes ago, I have learned so much about things to do, things not to do, how to be, what works for me, how I best record podcasts, what content works for me, all of that. And the only way I would have learned this is by actually doing it, learning by doing. Like you could read about how to lift like how to do a weighted squat. You could read up on that, spend hours and hours reading about it, but you're not going to actually understand how to do a weighted squat until you go to a gym, you get a bar, you put weights on it, and you practice squatting. So you can read up. And of course, understanding how to do something is important and helps you, but you learn by actually doing it. And so just knowing again, what is that for you? If there's something you're hesitating or it feels scary or like you're not wanting to do, just knowing that you're going to figure it out just by taking action and keeping it imperfect. So the thing that I've been focusing on is with these episodes, and I do this a lot in a lot of the work I do, is just making it good enough, making it to a B- level, doing that like 80-20 rule. Like I could spend way more time, and I might actually, this is something I was thinking about for future episodes, is bringing in a little bit more of the science. Like all the stuff I teach is based on science and my own experience. I haven't been bringing up like, oh, this research found this. It's something that I'm interested in, but I've just decided like for now, it's easier to just get up and talk about things that work for me and that work for my clients and that are based on science, but without being like, and here's all the research. I'm like, actually, maybe in the future, that's something I want to build in. But for now, It's just getting the muscle of like getting up, recording, putting it out into the world, adding in extra layers of like cross-referencing scientific papers and doing all that just felt like an extra barrier at this point. And for me right now, I'm like, do you know what? That's okay. It's good enough just talking about my own experience, doing it based on things that work for me and my clients, and putting it out in the world. So for me, this is good enough. And also, we get to decide that something is good enough. There's no scale out in the world. There's no, oh, this is good enough and this isn't. Obviously, at school, we have like, we get graded and we decide what we think good enough is. Like for some people, 60% is good enough. For others, 85 is good enough. Like again, okay, even if you're graded, it's still subjective what we think is good enough. So just trusting that what you produce when you are going all in to a B minus level or to like a good enough is actually going to be way more amazing than you think. I promise. So it's even with this, like so many times I'm like, oh, I don't know if it's good enough. It's like, no, it is good enough. It's going out into the world. And just committing to that and knowing that it's going to get better. The more times I do that, the more times it's actually my good enough is going to get even better and better because I'm going to practice and get the reps in. So imperfect action, you learn by doing, get those reps in. Okay, number 3, more action, doing something more, the same thing, it becomes less scary. This is episode 15. This doesn't feel very scary. Episode 1 felt terrifying. Of course, if you listen to episode 10, I stepped up a notch. I made it a little bit more scary for myself by sharing something that was more vulnerable and felt a bit more raw. So there's ways you can make it scary. But again, knowing that the first time you ever do something, it's going to feel scarier, and that's okay. The more times you do it, it won't feel as scary. Okay, number 4, publish it anyway. So again, if you've got post you want to put out, or there's an email you're writing, or something you're not sure about sharing, what if you just did it anyway? And again, just decide it's good enough, put it out into the world. Now, this has been really useful for me because I even things I'm like, oh, not sure. Like it might, if it can help one other person, okay, I'll press publish. Now, the 5th thing that, that I have learned or relearned is that also I get to change my mind at any point. And again, I have done this with, I recorded an episode a few weeks ago and I listened back to it. I was like, I actually don't want to publish this. I recorded it thinking I'm just going to publish it anyway. And I listened back and was like, I haven't explained the situation, explained my decisions, explained my thought process as well as I would have liked to. I think I was coming when I was recording it, it's like, okay, cool, I'll just get it done, rather than really thinking, okay, how can this be valuable to someone else? How is this useful? How can I say this in it? Like the energy that I was recording it from and showing up from was more like, woe is me. And I will record an episode about something again that I've been working through in the background that I'm going to share all of my lessons and decisions and all of that I'm working through at the moment. So it's like, it's not from like a quote unquote clean place. It didn't feel, it's almost like I was sharing before I was maybe ready to share. And so I actually decided not to publish it. So again, there are no rules. You get to change your mind at any point, even if you're like, okay, cool, this is how I do things and it's really helpful for you. And if it stops being helpful, don't. So again, I had the rule, I'm just going to publish it anyway. And most of the time that's been amazingly helpful because it stops me being like, I'll re-record it. It's like, no, put it out. It's good enough. Apart from this one time that I was like, no, do you know what? I'm not putting it out. So make rules if they're helpful, break rules if it's helpful. Do anything that is going to be helpful for you. You get to decide. There are no rules. You just get to decide. Okay, so number 6 is consistency is really easy when you want to do something. Okay, so I was like, how am I gonna just make sure I do it every week and I'm there every week, and was slightly like, oh, is this like 30 weeks in a row? I'm gonna have this podcast going out, like it's a big commitment. And actually the consistency has been really easy because I want to do it. I am genuinely excited to do this. And there's so many ways that I make it something I want to do. Firstly, I do something I want to do. Secondly, I make it really easy. Like number 1, just do it for 5 minutes. I set it up in a way that feels light, feels fun, feels easy. And so it's like, I really want to record this podcast. I want to share these things with you, and therefore consistency is easy. So again, if there's something you want to be more consistent with, how can you make it more fun? How can you make it something you genuinely want to do? And then consistency is almost like a byproduct of that. The more that you can make it fun, the more that you can make it enjoyable, the more that you can connect with like why you want to do something, consistency is almost a byproduct of that rather than I have to be consistent for consistence sake. Like if I was just trying to be consistent, it'd probably be forced and heavy and be like, oh, I've got to record this podcast to be consistent. Whereas it's like, no, I really want to. This is really fun. And then the consistency follows. So it's almost flipping it around. Okay. And again, linked on to that, number 7 is follow what comes easily and feels fun. That has been something I've been working on this year. Is last year there was a lot of forcing, a lot of feeling like I had to prove something, just coming back into work after and running my own business with having Flynn, figuring that out. I had my ADHD diagnosis. We moved house. There was a lot of things happening and a lot of life and identity shifts that were happening. Created a program, like all of this stuff was happening last year. And a lot of it felt like forcing or proving rather than listening. What is it I want? Who's it I want to be? Who am I? What lights me up? What feels fun? And following that, even though this is what I coach my clients on, for some reason that like I'd missed that in myself. And so really with this year and this podcast and launching this is just focusing on what feels fun and what feels easy and what comes easily, and it just flows so much more. It's so much easier to go and show up and do the scary thing and put myself out there and do this week after week because it is something that comes easily to me and something that feels really fun. So again, thinking, what is that for you? What comes really easily to you? What are your strengths? What just feels fun that you're like, this just feels like play. Lean into that. The more you do of that, the easier and more fun and more vibrant your life's going to be. So like, yeah, almost this one is like the big thing that has been shifting for me. So yeah, focus on what feels fun and comes easily. Number 8 is my voice matters. What I have to say is valuable. This has been something that I have really leaned into is yeah, like when I first, I think it was episode 2, like when I first actually published the podcast, to all of these thoughts coming in, like, who am I to do this? Or this, it can't just be this easy. I can't just do this. Like, who am I to record a podcast? And actually being able to lean into, no, like my voice matters. What I have to say is like matters and it's valuable to me, to someone else. And so thinking about that for you, your voice matters. What you have to say, your opinions, your lived experience, how you see the world, your perspectives, what lights you up, what angers you, what frustrates you, the change you want to see in the world, all of that is so important. And I just feel so lucky that, these days, these days, we have these platforms that you can just record and put podcasts out in the world. On social media, you can speak about things that are important to you and connect with others who feel the same. So again, if there's something that you're burning to say, to share, to speak up about, whether that's in your family, in your community, in your business, publicly on social media, like say it. Your voice matters. What you have to say is valuable. There are people waiting to hear what you have to say in the way that you say it. So your voice matters. Number 9, this one's quite fun, is my work helps others even while I sleep. How fun is that? I think like sometimes I'll wake up, go to sleep and then I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have a message from someone being like, oh, just listen to this podcast and really like this, or oh, how does it work for, asking questions or sharing their own experience or talking about that. That is like literally the most fun. And that is one of the reasons that I started this podcast. Yes, it was for me. It's a complete passion project, but there was so many things that I had learned and am learning and I'm figuring out. And I just wanted a place to store them, almost thinking of it like the word like legacy comes to mind. It's like they are there. It's like the podcast is there. It's public. It's a resource that people can access whenever, even when I'm sleeping. Like I don't need to be awake to help someone. I don't need to be on a Zoom call with a client to actually help someone. My podcast, like putting all this out into the world, this is helping people while I sleep. And yeah, it's just such a fun thing to think about that it separates me from having to be like on a call at the same time or in person with someone to actually help them. There's like so many ways that people can access this material, and the podcast is one of them. So yeah, that's just such a fun way of thinking about it. And again, that inspires me and energizes me to want to keep going and to record these so that they are out in the world, and then you guys can listen to them whenever you want. So good. Even while I sleep. And I do go to bed early, so that's not but I do get up early as well. This morning was 5:30, 20 past 5. Anyway, oh yeah, number 10. This one's fun. It is, sorry, I'm just adjusting. I've worn this like shirt thing that I haven't worn in like a year. I was like, oh, I'll put on a little shirt, and it's actually sliding down a bit. Anyway, I've readjusted. I don't want to spend this whole podcast adjusting my shirt. Okay. Number 10 is actually not about me. This is something I've kept coming back to, and this really helps me again come on here, share what is valuable, what I'm struggling with, what is working for me, what is not, and not make it about me. And not, it almost like helps me move through the fear of what are people going to think and people are going to judge me, all of that. It's like, it's not actually about me. It's really not. Sharing this is about you. I'm sharing these things because I think it's fun. And even if you didn't listen, I would be really enjoying this whole process. So it's all good. But you are listening. And hopefully there's bits of it you're finding valuable. And it's not actually about me. It's about how does this work apply to you, and how can you take this and apply it in your own life and shift things and do scary things and create your amazing big scary goals. So it's not about me. And again, thinking if this is helpful, if you ever get stuck like posting something or sending an email or like, again, speaking up or out in a bigger way, it's actually not about you. It's about helping the people you're with or the people that are consuming the content or reading the email. It's about helping them help themselves or like believe in themselves more. So it's actually not about you. And I think that just in so many ways just helps me like shake off all this heaviness that I sometimes put on, like, oh, I have to be this, I have to be this. It's like, it's literally not about me. I just get to show up and be me, share things that I find interesting, and it helps other people. You can do the same too. Number 12, there is always room for growth in any situation. We don't have to be taking big action and doing this thing and like creating gold. Like every single moment of every single day, there is room for growth. Growth meaning that we are leaning into doing something a little bit different, that we are feeling discomfort come up and fear come up in our body and self-doubt, and we are comforting ourselves and doing it anyway. That is where we grow, because we are at the edge of what feels really comfortable and safe to our body, and we're going beyond it. We don't have to be doing fancy things, doing big expeditions, or like speaking in front of thousands of people. Like that, yes, those things are amazing and they're really fun, but we don't like that. That isn't the only type of growth we have. There are the micro moments every single day where we are staying and putting ourselves in experiences and staying in experiences, staying present, not running away from them, that we maybe wouldn't have done yesterday, or we wouldn't have done last week, or we wouldn't have done a year ago. That is growth. So knowing that every single day, there is always opportunity for growth, to shift how you are being, to do things that feel a bit more scary every single moment. And even within this podcast, as I was saying, the more action you take, the more times you do something, the less scary it feels. But there's always room for growth, which is sharing things that are a bit more vulnerable, like leaning into that. That is the growth within the bigger goal. So there's always, always room for growth. And leaning into that just makes your days so much more vibrant, makes your week so much feel like longer and more interesting and more varied, because you are not the same person as you were at the beginning of the week, because you've constantly leaned into what feels scary, what you would normally avoid. And by the end of the week, by the end of the day, you are transformed. And you continuously do that. And like the difference over months and years, it's like unrecognizable. So there is always, always, always room for growth. Number 13, we're getting through them. Number 13. Yeah, one, and again, I'll flip this back to you guys. So number 13. Okay. Why not me? I think that was one of the things that slightly put me off having a podcast for years was, oh, I don't know if I can like, I don't know if I can do podcasts. I don't know if I can, blah, blah, blah. And just asking that question, like, well, why not me? It's, I'm able to do it. I have a mic, I have a laptop. I could even do it on my phone. Like, you don't even need that fancy equipment. Like, why not me? I have things I want to share. Why not me? And thinking about that for you, why not you? If there is something that you desire, a goal that you are just like, yes, I want, you know that you want that, you know that you want, or the goal that you're working towards, why not you? Really letting that sink in. Why not you? May as well be you. And I think that's something that I've really learned with this podcast is like, oh, I totally like not deserve, but I guess that's what would come in when I was thinking, why not me? It's like, well, I don't deserve to, I don't know this, I'm not an expert, I'm not like you can come, you know, our brain comes up with all the excuses of why not us. And I've actually leaned into, why not me? Here I am. So the same for you. Why not you? Number 14, even the hard stuff is useful to learn from and it can help someone else. This has been something I've really been coming back to. Again, I'll talk through this on a future episode, other than the one I recorded that I am not going to publish. And like stuff that I've been working through has felt really, really hard. And I know, like I've come through, I feel like now I'm through the other side of it. And I have learned so much from it. Like we learn the most from the hard stuff. That is how it almost like solidifies. It's like, okay, that was pretty rough. What am I learning from it? And we can learn from that. And knowing that however hard things are, first, we're going to learn so much from it about ourselves, our resilience, about moving, being able to come through it, and it can help someone else in some way. Whether or not you ever share about it, whether or not you talk about it publicly or not, or coach anyone or not, even just knowing that we are all going through hard times at different times. Like it's part of the human condition. Things are not lovely and la 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 all the time. It just doesn't work that way. And so, whenever we have been through a phase, a period, a season of things feeling really, really heavy and really, really hard, when we come through the other side, maybe there's someone else who's going through that. And even just understanding whether or not you even talk to them about it, just having that compassion that there's people going through hard things at different times, like you can help others. So, what you like, if you're going through something really hard right now, you're not only going to find out so much about yourself and what you're truly capable of and your resilience and your ability to persevere and your ability to keep like wake up, keep going, keep moving forward, knowing that it is going to get better. And you're also going to look back and be like, oh my gosh, wow, I learned so much from that. I'm so proud of myself for keeping going. And you're going to understand others more too and be able to help them as well in whatever form. So that is something that I've definitely learned throughout this whole process. Number 15. It's not the last one because I have 17. So 15 is, and I know this one already. I mean, a lot of these are relearning, but it's easier to do something in advance than last minute, as unexpected things can happen. So last week, I had planned to do the podcast on Thursday, and I was going to edit it and upload it. And for whatever reason, I didn't get it done by the end of Thursday day, and I had a full day out of the office, the office, out of my spare room, out of in front of a laptop on Friday. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll just do the editing, get it all scheduled on Thursday night because they go out on Friday morning. And then Flynn was a bit unsettled, took longer to get to bed. It was maybe like 8:30 or something by the time I got to bed, and I'm waking up at like 5, 5:30. I am done. I do not have the capacity to edit a podcast, write some show notes, and like schedule it in. Didn't have the chance, didn't have the headspace for that. So I was like, I'll do it in the morning, which was fine. I got upstairs and I did it in the morning, but it wasn't how I wanted my Friday to go. I wanted to just get up, have a lovely chilled morning, play with Flynn, hang with Luke, have breakfast, be in the garden with Maple and everyone, and then go and have my day out. So it didn't happen like that. So it was learning it again, and it was fine. I got it edited, I got it out. But if I'd been sick or something on Friday morning or something had happened, like it wouldn't have gone out. Again, not the end of the world. If it didn't go out on the day that I wanted it to go out on, fine. Nothing will have happened. I'm not sure anyone would even notice, but maybe. So not a big deal. But it's just thinking again for this week. Okay. And again, I'm recording this on a Thursday. I didn't do it on, I was in the swing of recording on Tuesday, but record it on Thursday this week. So it's just making sure that it's edited and uploaded. And now I'm so focused, also with my mushroom tea, so focused to actually get it scheduled up by the end of the working day today and not leaving anything to the evening. So I'm like, I'm not doing that again. Evenings can be unpredictable. Mornings not happening during the working day. So even just relearning that, like I know this, I coach people on this all the time, but sometimes we need to relearn it. We're like, I'll be fine, I'll just do it later. And later we're knackered or it doesn't happen or unexpected things happen. So I I have been relearning that the hard way. So, and then number 16 is, oh yeah, I can channel my inspiration in any moment. That has been something that has been so fun to learn. It's something I coach my clients on, is figuring out like what is their unique process for creativity? Like how are they creative? How does that work? How do they get their ideas? How can they do more of that and harness that? So it's not like, oh, I'm supposed to be creative right now and I don't even know how to do it. And I feel like, oh, it's like, they know how to do that. And just I've been doing it on this bigger level. Like I feel for myself, like learning it on this bigger level. It's a journey I've been on through the past like year and a half, is really understanding my own creativity and actually thinking of myself as a creative person. I used to never think I was a creative person. I did science and I did math and I did like engineering stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I never thought I was creative. And actually, I am quite creative. I'm pretty creative. I'm damn creative. There we go. I am a creative person. I just hadn't realized that I was, and given myself permission to be, and realized that actually my creativity, like my creative process, is different than maybe how I had forced myself to work. So I could force myself to work and get stuff done. I wasn't being creative. I wasn't thinking innovatively. I wasn't thinking about things differently. Whereas now that I can tap into that, I can also channel inspiration and feeling inspired and feeling like, coming on and doing these podcasts, I can get myself into a place where I feel amazing doing that. No matter what morning I've had, no matter what time I've been up, no matter what has happened just before standing up and recording this, I am here. I'm fully present. I am like in flow. I'm like enjoying it. I'm sharing things. That has been so fun, just learning that like on another level, because it's one thing feeling in that place to like coach, or feeling in that, which I am able to do, or feeling in that place to maybe write a social media post, but standing up and being on video and being on audio every single week about something and sharing what is working and like being creative, coming up with new ideas and sharing it with you guys. I used to think that like it's not really possible. You have to wait until you're inspired and then you go and do the thing. Whereas now, like I understand how to get myself into that place and it is so fun. I think I might actually like do a full episode on this, because it is just the most amazing skill to have, because you're not at the effect of things happening around you or what's happened or how your day's gone or what time you woke up or whether a meeting overran. Like none of that is affecting your creativity. You are in control of it when you know how to tap into that and harness it and how your unique creativity works. It is it's just so fun. So anyway, yeah, so that has been amazing to learn that I know my like really have honed my unique process for that. So I know that I can stand up and like share these things in the right energy that I want to. It's so fun. And then the final one is that and again, well, I've known all of these, but relearned a lot of them, is I love connecting with people. And that has been like with you guys, and that people are amazing. People are just like, you guys are all amazing. I'm learning so much from you and from the conversations we're having, whether that's like on Zoom or on Instagram or on YouTube or on Messenger or on WhatsApp, whatever, via email. I am learning so much from you all. And I just love hearing other people's stories, understanding, what other people are going through, having that like shared human experience of we all have things we're working towards, that we're dreaming about, that we're creating. We all have fears and self-doubts. We all have things that we're avoiding and mean things we say to ourselves and things we'd rather we didn't do. All of that is what is part of being a human and the richness of the human experience. And I just love connecting with others and just having that shared human experience. And this podcast, even though I'm standing in a room speaking to myself, although I have my first podcast guest lined up, that's going to happen in the next few months. So that's going to be that. I'm so excited about that. It's going to be so good. It's like connecting with people on another level. But it's still this connection. It's me, like I'm imagining I'm chatting to you now. And you're chatting back. So it's just, even though I'm here in my room chatting to camera, I love connecting with you all and hearing from you all and just having this like back and forth, this conversation, even though it's an asynchronous conversation. I put something out, you have something back. I'm like, okay. And then create another episode and it goes back and forth. I am just loving this. And yeah, thank you. I just want to say thank you all. Like, so, oh my God, I'm actually getting I'm really emotional here. Did not expect this. Oh, yeah. So I I just want to say thank you all so much for listening. I like never like expected it when I set out on this journey. It was really to learn, yeah, just do something that I was really excited and passionate about and learn something about myself along the way. And I've learned so much about myself, but like I have learned so much from you guys and from the conversations, and thank you. Like you're the reason I also continue to do this and show up and get these out every week and think about what would be interesting and exciting and useful. And yeah, it's like literally can't even I can't even explain it. Like thinking back to myself, like even 3 years ago when if you listen to the first episode, I'd recorded some original podcasts I never put out. And like never like even just thinking back to her and like imagining not only am I like doing the podcasting and I've done 15 episodes, but like there's people listening to it. Like you guys are actually listening to it. And yeah, it just thank you. And I can't even really explain it. Maybe I'll try and explain it in a future episode, but I don't take it for granted. I'm so grateful. I know that your time is valuable. I know there's millions and millions of podcasts that are amazing that you could be listening to, and you're spending your time each week listening to me in my room chatting away. So, like, I really don't take that for granted. I'm so grateful. And thanks for being on this journey with me, halfway to my scary goal. And yeah, what a journey it's been. And I love hearing about your own journeys and your own goals as well. So please keep sharing that. And if there's anything that you want to know or that you want me to dive into in more detail, like please just let me know and I'll do a whole episode on that for you. So thank you. Sending so much love. I'm not going to recap the 15 because it would take another like half an hour if I went through them. But yeah, go back through. And if there's any that resonate, like take that and run with it and just leave the rest. They will be there if you need to come back to them. And I hope you have the most. Oh, wait, before I go, aha, there's one thing I wanted to say. Next Friday, so this will go out on Friday, the 17th of May. You might be listening to this back in the future, in which case, hi, what's it like in the future? Today's the 16th of May, tomorrow's the 17th of May. Next week, so the 24th of May. Now, I know that you are listening from all over the world, which is so fun. If you happen to be in Aberdeenshire or even in Scotland and you want to travel up to Aberdeenshire, next Friday, so the 24th of May at 5:45, we are going for a walk up Scolty, which is the local hill. It's really fun. It's got this monument at the top. We are doing a mindful moment at the top. And then we're coming back down to this awesome cafe called the Liberty Kitchen that normally is just open during the day. They're staying open in the evening. They're doing a vegan and cheese board. And I'm doing a talk all about scary goals for the first 10 or 15 minutes. It's going to be so fun. I am having such fun with the talk already. And there's things that I'm going to share that I have never shared before. So if you want to hear what those are, come on down and like come for the walk, come for the mindful moment. It's run by an organization called the Decide Wellbeing Collective. They're doing amazing things. I'll put the link in the show notes. You can sign up and come along and come to the talk and come meet other amazing, amazing humans and come hang out in Banchory, in Aberdeenshire, in sunny Scotland. Hopefully it'll still be amazing sunshine, but it's going to be such a fun evening. I'm so excited to share all this stuff with you guys. And yeah, I hope to see you there. It'd be so fun to meet in person if we haven't met already. And if it doesn't work this time, I'm sure there'll be plenty more opportunities to hang out. So have an amazing, amazing rest of the day. Go sign up now for the walk and talk and cheese board and vegan cheese board. And yeah, amazing rest of the day, an amazing week ahead. And I will see you next week. Okay, bye. Hey, thanks so much for listening. If this was helpful, please hit subscribe and leave a review. This helps get this work in the hands of more purposeful people. That is, more people creating bigger, scarier goals, making an even bigger impact in the world. And if you want to take this work deeper and work with me directly, head to the show notes and I've got all of the information there. If you've got any questions or if there's anything you're like, ooh, I'd love you to talk about that on the pod, please just get in touch. I love hearing from you guys. And I'll see you next time in the Scary Goals Club.